Hey guys, this is Chris. I just want to take you guys through the process of, and there's my dog. She's been gone for a few minutes, finally came back. Just want to take you guys through the process of replacing or doing an oil change on your 2015 and up STI. This is obviously pertaining to EJ25 motor. Pretty straightforward process. If you're new to this, this will be a good learning experience. If you're looking to just start doing it yourself, maybe I can help you, get more comfortable with it, or, whatever the process is. If you're not too familiar with it, or whatever, we'll go ahead and just do a quick walkthrough and show you guys how it's done. So just sit back and enjoy the ride, I guess. First things first, I'm doing this on the ground, so I am using ramps, as you can tell. Car's sitting just barely in my carport, but just make sure if you are working on the ground that, if you're using jack stands, make sure everything's secured and placed in the correct positions as far as supporting the vehicle. If you're working on ramps, just make sure your parking brake is on, put it in gear, so that way the car doesn't roll off the ramps if you're sitting on a hill or something. Alright, so first things first is just taking the oil cap off, obviously. Like to make sure there's no excessive moisture built up. Check the oil real quick. It should be pretty dirty. I typically replace my oil 5,500 to 6,000. This one's a little bit overdue. We're sitting at 6,500 right now, so as you can tell, it's pretty dirty, but that's okay. This vehicle has a little over 103,000 miles, so it's expected. Alright, so some things to consider17 millimeter socket or wrench for this drain plug, and I couldn't find my magnetic flashlight, so we're going to be doing this in low lighting. My car does have a belly pan. I do need to get one for it. 17 drain plug. Here's your oil filter. So most of the time you can take this off by hand. I would suggest not doing that, especially if you're working on a hot motor. Just make sure you get yourself like a filter strap wrench, or if you can get a socket of this diameter, which I'm not sure what it is, but that would be optimal, obviously. So let's go ahead and just drain this oil, get this filter swapped out. We'll plug everything back up and we'll just refill it. Alright, so as expected, it's just really dirty oil, nothing out of the ordinary, no sludge obviously. Alright, so I've got my oil filter. Obviously this is just like an OEM replacement filter. I did pre-fill this with oil, obviously with it sitting kind of vertically. You can put a little bit of oil in there to somewhat, I guess, prime it in a sense. I am also putting oil around this rubber seal right here. That way, in the time that it's going to sit and get hot on this motor a few times, it's going to allow us to break this thing loose in the future, versus putting it dry. You don't want to do that because this heat is going to cause that seal to kind of seize up to the housing. You're gonna have a hard time taking it off. So I'm gonna support it, spin it on. Torque spec for an oil filter, I don't know, like Guten Tag, I guess, the German method. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get it nicely snugged up. I feel pretty good about that. So alright, cool. Alright, so I'm going to spray some brake parts cleaner on my threads. I'm going to wipe it off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start running it in. Now it's still not ran in all the way, so I'm going to spray a little bit of brake parts cleaner, get some of the residual oil out of there, and boom. Let's go ahead and tighten it up real quick. Nice and tight. And we're done. Okay, so the oil's drained. Replace the filter, put the drain plug back in. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is oil itself. For most part, it's based on preference, in my opinion. Now, obviously, if you're using like full synthetic, just stick to that. I did my first oil change with Mobil 1. I am switching over to this Enos just because it's about the same price. You know, it's a oil made in Japan. You know, I think this is like an OES spec type oil. I think that or Idemitsu is the other brand. I could be wrong about that, but 530 full synthetic should be good for 7,500 miles. I think the oil itself might be rated for more, but I typically do it like every 5 to 6.5. Alright, so let's go ahead and just fill it up. And we'll go ahead and start it, let it circulate, and obviously top it off to get it up to level. Now keep in mind I am sitting on ramps, which obviously means that the car is not perfectly level and there's no oil in the engine, so it's not like I can just start it and drive it off right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up real quick. Now, if you don't have years of experience pouring oil in like this, like I do, obviously use a funnel. Strongly recommend using a funnel, but let's see if I can just maybe try not to make a mess here. Yep, there it goes. Nice and easy. And then I'm just gonna start it and drive it off and actually check the level on level. Check the oil level on level ground. A lot of levels in there. Alright, so that's a little bit over a quart left. So I know we've got plenty in there to just start it up and drive it off. So that's what we're going to do. See if we get anything on the dipstick. Yep, it's above the minimum level, which I know we're slightly tilted right now, so it should be higher than that. So we'll go ahead and drive it off real quick. Typically after you restart your engine, you do want to wait like 30-45 seconds or something. You know, make sure that oil runs back down to the oil pan where the dipstick can pick it up. So alright, so we'll go ahead and top it off. Wow, look at that. It's probably hard to make out on the camera, but it's right there at the high point. So topped it off perfectly. So we'll leave it at that. That's pretty much it. Just to kind of touch back on some of the things we've talked about. Oil wise, I think it's just preference. You do need a 17mm wrench or socket to get the drain plug off. Some kind of a filter wrench to get the filter off. But other than that, just make sure you're working in a safe environment. Don't hurt yourself. Be careful with the hot oil, obviously. I've also got this thing. I'm sure some of you are looking at this and know what it is. It's just kind of sitting here getting retaken by nature right now.